for every longing heart that needs you today, Jesus. I need you, Lord. I just pray, God, that your Spirit would impress in our heart a longing, a desire for you. We love you, Jesus.
And now just stay in balance. Just want to see just where you.
I have a school that I'm running. We have a flourishing organization here with a good number of families that we're serving, and I'm heavily involved with the church. That's my passion. Is I want to use ministry to change lives, essentially. I always liked martial arts. I was a big fan of Bruce Lee. I grew up with all his movies. And I mean, we didn't have much. That's all I had. I didn't have a punching bag, and I just pretended I was some kind of ninja or martial arts. And so it was something that was a part of me.
Front kick, side kick, look, and front kick. You have to block.
Yes, sir.
That's very difficult.
I was actually born in Florence, the city of Florence in Italy. My parents were live-in caregivers there in '85, and we moved here in 1989. I was about just under 4 years old, living in a neighborhood in the GTA, Toronto, a well-known neighborhood, Jane and Finch, known for a lot of corrupt gangs and drug dealing, human trafficking, violence. When I was around 5 or 6 years old, my dad had left, and that was a pivotal time in my childhood. It's because growing up without a father can play a huge role in the trajectory of your life. I was starting to get involved with smoking cigarettes and mildly experimenting with alcohol, and my mom was starting to catch on to these things. She had decided to move us to Australia. When we moved to Australia, I was upset about moving there, and before you knew it, I got caught up with the same kind of people. I was forced to move back to Canada because my mom didn't like what was happening there. She was seeing that the alcoholism was getting worse, and she was even starting to smell marijuana on me from time to time. We moved back. I felt so lost, like I had no sense of belonging. And no role modeling to guide me. So we went to Australia, lived there, we moved back to Canada, I ran away from Canada, and I went back to Australia.
Okay, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna lean sideways to your supporting leg until you feel a stretch. After you feel that stretch, you come back. That counts as 1.
I was 16 years old, I was 17, and something had happened that turned my perspective.
Guys, make sure you're going sideways. Don't turn your chest to your supporting leg, not like this.
Yeah. I got in trouble with the police, and I was incarcerated for a year. My sentence was 2 years, and I was fortunate enough to have been granted parole for a year.
Grab, yeah, reach over, and it's like you're cutting a knife. It's cutting into my wrist. Yeah, right there. Right there. It's cutting.
The bad side of my experience was I got heavily addicted to heroin. That's when I first got introduced to it.
I want you to almost pull this hand in. Don't let yourself use it. And go up. Make sure you're going which way? Sideways.
Consequence of getting caught in a web like this is that it'll literally take everything from you.
Sideways.
Luckily for me, my sister was in town at the time. She'd come from Canada. She was doing a world championship in Taekwondo in Sydney. I told her about my time in jail and the kind of friends that I made, and I confessed to her that I'm addicted to and I'm seeking help for heroin. She said, "It's going to be okay. We're going to seek help." I took advantage of that, and I went to Canada. And when I came back to Canada, and I got back into Taekwondo at the time when I came back. And so I opened the school. It was just a youth program at the time. I approached Limitless very differently in terms of how I wanted this to be a reflection of God's goodness in the organization.
And 2, and 1, and 2, and 1.
I keep seeking certain things in my life to seek change, but there's only really one thing that I needed to find in change. And that happened actually very miraculously with my encounter with a very blessed organization. It was called the Gateway Center for New Canadians. They ran a dance program. It was called I Rock With The One. And it was this faith-based dance endeavor where they wanted to use they wanted to use dance as an outreach to share God to people. To some of my friends, I changed. My front changed because I'm now dancing and I'm not in the streets anymore. Something inside was killing me, and that was, who you kidding? You haven't changed. Nothing's changed. The front changed, but inside is still the same. Because you know where you're gonna go after this dance rehearsal. You're gonna meet with somebody, you're gonna party, and then you're gonna come back here and you're gonna act like everything's all good. And that was killing me. This is where the U-turn actually happened. It is a very significant moment in my life. I had this big debut where I wanted to tell my teacher, this is what I've been doing. I'm part of this Christian organization. You know, we're dancing for youths, and we're trying to make a difference in our community. I was still heavily using it at this time. And I got my dance crew to come with me. And I said, I'm gonna perform in front of my Sayunim, which is master in Korean. And I was supposed to do a performance and then speak about what it is that we're doing. That moment landed to be a very huge flop. So we did our dance and I spoke and not a single word came out. I really wanted to really cry, or I just felt really broken at the time. I was shut down, I felt judged in my life, I hated myself. And then somewhere deep inside, during the motions of my body, I closed my eyes and I said, I'm sorry. I said I'm sorry. I don't know why I said I'm sorry, but I said I'm sorry inside. And then I felt this almost like inertia, if you would, some kind of force. Whether it be the drugs, whether it be the non-sleeping, I believe it was God. Where he felt like child, it's okay. Like, I got you, I forgive you if you just come. And I felt this kind of weird, it felt electrifying, but there was like almost a tingly feeling from the toes up. It went to my head and I dropped on my knees. God was just slowly peeling off layers of this onion, almost, as my professor used to describe to me, and shedding off this old Freddie and slowly developing into this new Freddie.
Jesus, I belong to you. You're the reason that I live, the reason that I sing with all I am.
So this is Sharon, my mother-in-law.
Hi.
Beautiful person. Couldn't say more than that. This is my wife, Melissa, and my daughter, beautiful daughter, Trinity. Lillian.
I mean, in the beginning, I wasn't, not that I wasn't a believer, but I was more on the other end, wasn't really sure about it. And then through our relationship and him showing me and teaching me, I have also found Jesus, and I'm actually going to be baptized later today.
She